Body, I am live because I just finished a working and I am not even a little bit tired. I'm all kind of juiced up on this happy Saturday night. I'm very blessed to have had a blessed working, a wonderful working, a glorious working against casting out an alcohol addiction just now, and it was a fantastic working. And people were tuning in. What's up, everybody? Happy Saturday night. Thank you for tuning in. As I was just saying, I got called by one of my students to do a working on their behalf to assist them with an alcohol drinking problem using the method that I used for my smoking thing, and it worked. It worked great. It was very interesting doing it on another person. We did it outdoors. It was very fun to do an outdoors working, and the elements came into play fantastically. Spirit showed up so strong. I mean, when the working ended, first of all, when the working ended and we said it was done, the wind blew out all the candles like that. And the temperature in the little circle we were in dropped. It seemed to drop 40 degrees. Whoa. And the phone's falling over too. So, yeah, an excellent working, an excellent evening. And I'm juiced up and, figured let's go live. Let's see if people have questions. People tuning in, you got questions? What are you guys doing tonight? Are other folks working this evening? And yes, I am obscurely dressed in all white, looking very different than usual because we were casting something out. And it's important to make sure that whatever you cast out doesn't attach to you. So very important to wear all white when you're doing that kind of work. You'll see even in the Catholic tradition they have set things that they wear. Speaking of the Catholic tradition, for the first time today I got my own holy water. I was being advised by a friend. I've never really been in a Catholic church, so I don't know the deal. I don't know where I've heard that there's holy water by the front door. I found it. It is by the front door. It's like this thing. It's like a tank, and there's a little bowl on the bottom. There's a little spigot. And yeah, I ran up in there with an empty gallon of water, dressed in my all whites. And nobody stood in my way. They all seemed to really respect whatever, I don't know what they thought I was doing, but whatever they thought I was getting that holy water for, they certainly respected it. So, yeah, it was a learning experience that you can go grab holy water by the gallon. I don't know if I could do it every day. I am planning on going by this week and meeting the priest or the pastor, whoever is the guardian or custodian of that thing, and introducing myself. But yeah, it's the Church of St. John the Baptist. So I thought, what a great church to get holy water from. So this evening's working was really interesting. It was very, it just felt good to completely provide all the different solutions to all the different facets. So we started by honoring the patient's ancestors and bringing them into the space. And with that, we worked with my spirits to open the roads and to grant us protection for the working. And then from there, we went ahead and did a head washing with coconut water and cascarilla. And that was very powerful. And I think I'm going to make that a standard part of like all the addiction and habit breaking work, because it was very powerful for the patient. That was really clear. But physically, you could see her responding. Like as I was washing her head, she was trembling, and in certain spots things were happening. So that turned out to be really, really good. And then I went, just as I do in the Casting Out Demons video, I went and called the spiritual court and called forth to sort of account for itself all the things that could be associated with her drinking. And from there, once I had it there, I actually used the exorcism from the Book of St. Cyprian. That I really like that exorcism. It's extremely comprehensive, and you can use it for all sorts of things, and you can modify it on the fly too if you're familiar with it and know where to do it. And so, fantastic. The 1-2 punch. She was like retching up the addiction, and spit it into a mostly empty bottle of booze that I had fixed with double shoestring, archangel root. What was the third thing I used in that bottle? Cascara Sagrada, sacred bark was the third thing I went with on that one. And yeah, bound it up in there, burned a purple candle right in the neck of the bottle that she had inscribed with her intentions for controlling this thing, and she had dressed the what's it called? Hibachi skewer is the actual word for it. The hibachi skewer that she inscribed the candle with in vanishing oil. And yeah, we burned that candle in there, sealed the bottle, and then when it seemed like it was good and done, literally we said it was done and the wind blew out the candle, and then I had her pray over it, and then we said the working was done, and the wind came and blew out all the candles, the ancestor altar, folded over the ancestor's picture. It was pretty cool and dramatic. And at the beginning of the working, it looked like it was going to rain. As I said, we were outside, so I kind of just asked. I was like, can you please just hold off for 3 hours? Just give me 3 hours without the rain, and then do whatever the fuck you want, And literally 3 hours on the dot, the first drop started falling. So it was a very good working. The place we did the working at was the place I graduated from for grad school, where she's currently in school. So it was very cool to be doing that working in a place that held power for us. And that school happens to be Naropa University, so it's like where all the beatniks ended up teaching, and where Tibetan Buddhism took hold in the United States. So a lot of ashe there. Even just showing up and setting up the candles, you could feel the spirit. There's like shrines all over the campus, and spiritual work being done. It's a Buddhist college. You can go there and get a degree in Buddhist psychology and all these things. So very cool to be doing the working there and working with the spirits of that place and the ashe of that place. And yeah, it was a lovely working. It was a blessed working, and I wish I had a coworker on it. Any working of that magnitude, I usually work with a coworker. In-person workings are absolutely almost like I want them to be my trademark. Like I believe in I know for sure I see a huge difference. Like in-person working, that patient who came in today, and you'll notice I use the word patient and not client, because in-person working, that's doctoring. And that patient who came in today was different when she walked out today in 3 hours. Different, like, yeah, she didn't want to have a drink, but beyond that, like, between the head washing and the blessings, like, she was ready to approach life a whole different way than she did today or yesterday or anything of that nature. So yeah, it was very dope to be able to do it outside, to do it at a place that had personal significance to both of us, and a place that just has so much spirit in it. And I want to do more of this working. I want to do more of this type of work. I want to do more casting out of addictions. I think the spiritual approach is the one approach that's not being taken. I think we will see. It's still early, okay, but we will see. But I think that my spiritual approach will be at least as effective as rehab, right? Like I have two brothers who were heroin addicts. They were in rehab. My younger brothers, and that didn't. They did eventually clean up, but had nothing to do with rehab. That didn't work out for them. So I think that, and what I'm seeing for myself, from quitting tobacco after fucking 25 years of smoking multiple packs a day, and just like, I'm done with it. I'm good. And I see people smoke. I hang out with my friends who I used to smoke mad cigs with or mad cloves with, and they're still smoking, and I'm not even like remotely triggered. It's nuts. I have quit before, and it's really those triggers that bring me back every time, and I'm not even remotely. And then I think, I'm going to just say it, and if he's mad at me, he can be mad. It's Samuel from Ritual Craft. Really, I got him smoking again. Peacock Grimoire on here, the Peacock Grimoire. He had quit, and they started hanging out with me, and I got him smoking cloves. And then he was still smoking after I quit. And he used the working, and he quit, and he's clean. He sent me his testimonial yesterday, saying not even any cravings. Not even any cravings. And this evening, to work with alcohol was really cool. Because it's a different nature. Definitely a different nature. The addiction to alcohol feels different than the addiction to nicotine. It's not compulsive like that. It has power over you, and it's habitual, and it's more pattern-like. But at least in the case of this person, it's not this compulsive, all day long drinking. It's just getting too fucked up when she shouldn't get fucked up. So yes, it's cool to see that these methods are working across multiple substances, across multiple people, across multiple frameworks. and how flexible it is to work with different spiritual paradigms. So yeah, I'm excited. And if you guys have questions, by the way, please, I'm just jibber jabbering. I know. The dulcet tones of my voice are totally just enough to zone out and listen to, but seriously, I don't have much more to say. I was just excited to talk about my working. And then I'm probably going to go eat some pancakes or something, because I got to ground out after that. That was pretty cool. Every time I do that Cyprianic exorcism, and I have the book in the trunk. I can't even point it out to you guys. But it's the Arabic version of St. Cyprian's prayer, it's called. It's in English, but it's called the Arabic version, and it's just comprehensive. It lists whether it was made in bone, whether it was made in wood, whether it was written on parchment, whether it was hidden in a door frame, whether it was written, like talking about curses and stuff like that. So it just lists every case, you know what I mean? So it's very easy to cover all your bases. And if there's anything specific you know about your case, then you throw it in there too. So it's dope. I am also very excited to have incorporated both the head washing and the bath in this, and I think that's really going to help to make it stick. And because it's one thing to quit your addiction or whatever, but it's another thing to get a new lease on life, and that takes the fresh, like, it's not just getting rid of the old, it's not just out with the old, it's in with the new, right? So getting that in with the new and getting that new energy going is I think going to be a really cool part of the program, and I'm excited to see where people are in 30 days, you know. Everyone's got more time and money on their hands, at least, and that should lead to accomplishing something, some goals, you know. And one of the cool things that I worked with in this working that I think is, it's an interesting concept I've been playing with, and that is using offerings, whether it's like last night I was out with Madame Pamita and Divine Hand Jim, and some lovely folks who have a great store in Iowa, in the middle of a small town in Iowa. They run an occult shop, and God bless them, because they really are about it for the right reasons and doing the right thing. But yeah, we were out at the First Friday Art Walk in Denver, and I left an offering, like the offerings you guys have been seeing on my thing, to my spirit, the one with the eyes. And Madame Pamita asked, like, oh, what is that? Is that a working? And I was like, no, it's an offering. And she asked who it was to, and yeah, I'll tell you guys, it's to a spirit of a living person, and it's an experiment in feeding a living person's spirit, and it works. It definitely works. Assuredly, it works. And what's crazy, or maybe not crazy, but what also works is it bestows boons back. Like that person's spirit being, the appreciation of that person's spirit reciprocates, and then good stuff happens, like, consistently. And I love it. And so with that technology, that magical technology, or that technique, working that into ways of assigning things, right? So here's a person who had a drinking problem. So now we've gone and assigned her urge for alcohol, her portion and her allotment of alcohol, to her ancestors, spirits of, she's a writer, so the spirits of writers who drink heavily, and in turn for their blessings and their assistance in her work. Tackboy, you said that the candles went out after your working was done. Anything crazy and magical happen like that with any of your other workings in the past? Definitely, it totally happens. Usually, it doesn't happen when I'm working just by myself. I think it is the first time that that's happened in a working where it was just me and a client, and it was like big juju in the room. If I'm working with Solomon, though, Crossroad King, definitely, we're in the same room. Shit's going down, and yeah, cool shit's happening. We've had, oh man, like double flames on like crazy things happen. Yes, but that was definitely the most. And even by myself working, yeah, candles do weird things. Things do weird things. But that kind of like wave your hand, it is done. Whoosh, the candles go out. No, I've never done that in a working by myself before. So that was super dope. And I think it clearly proved to us, demonstrated to us that spirit was present, and all praise due to God. Like that I did not do that, right? I asked for it and it was granted, but I did not do that, you know. So Yeah, all praise due to God and to the spirits and to the ancestors and to the guides and the enlightened masters who assisted us in that working. Yeah, and it was very dope. I love seeing the physical. I mean, there was another part of the working where the candle that we were using to seal the bottle, the flame was getting low, and we just like focused on it, and it went nuts, dude. It went from like being almost out to like a raging, 2.5-inch flame on a little chime candle. So yeah, that kind of stuff happens in workings, especially with candle flames. I see it happen a lot in my workings. But wind, I've never done wind stuff before. I've never like caused the wind to blow, and I don't think I caused the wind to blow. I think I made a request, and because we had a direct line and it was open and being receptive, and our prayers were being received at the time, that request got bundled in with the rest. So cool question, appreciate it. Any other questions? Hit me up. I like answering questions. I look weird to myself in the whites. I will say that. And walking into a Catholic church dressed in all the whites is, and here, in Colorado, things are pretty casual. Even if you go to like a fancy restaurant, it's pretty casual. So church on a Saturday afternoon is super cash. And I looked pretty spiffy, pretty fancy in my all whites. I'm wearing this sweatshirt now, but before I just had my t-shirt on. And yeah, they could tell I was doing something serious. They could tell I was doing something serious wearing all white and going in there for a gallon of holy water. And I don't think anyone wanted to get in the way of that. So that was cool. And I wish there was more I could explain or give about the working. But a lot of it is... I want to be confidential with the patient, for sure. I don't want to... reveal any details of the situation that might be identifying or whatever. But general questions I'm happy to answer. Many Moons Intuitive, hello and welcome this evening. Thank you for tuning in, for joining me. As I was explaining to everyone, I just finished this working, casting out drinking problem. And it was a blessed working. It couldn't have been better. Every step of the way, every time... especially when you're working outside in a public place. Dwayne Anderson, what up? When you're working outside in like a relatively public place, right? Like this was like a college campus, like a very small private college campus. I think there's like 1,200 students. They're very small. So yeah, it can be challenging. You don't have control of the environment. You don't have control of the setting. Like we pick that place. And then we were like, well, I hope there's a place to set up an ancestor altar. And we just found this, like, awesome. It was circular, and it had, like, there were benches. But if you're sitting on the ground, it might as well have been an altar. It was perfect. Let's see. Good question. Okay, E777A, which is an account I actually really like. So, right on. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for asking a thoughtful question. Can you talk about what to do to get into hoodoo work? Like, total beginner, but some experience with other magic. All right, so like, I guess I want to ask first what you mean by hoodoo work, meaning like becoming a professional worker or just doing hoodoo style workings. I want to ask that first. Secondly, I kind of want to ask why, if it's just interest in the technologies for sure, but you don't have to be hoodoo specific. It's basically all folk magic. All folk magic's the technologies are pretty consistent, especially in a lot of technologies we see in hoodoo carry over from the Book of St. Cyprian. That's why I use that working. And that goes into, pre-Asatru sort of Scandinavian stuff, so pre like the Norse religion stuff. And it's very all in Latin America. That's Cyprianic working, all in Western Europe, Southern Europe. That technology of folk magic is pretty general, and it's influenced by, it's consistent. Like, it's not, you don't find a lot of weird stuff. Now, what makes hoodoo unique that isn't in everything else is working with spirit, and trance state, spirit possession, pushing spirit, all that. That is very much unique to hoodoo work, and that way of working with spirit and spirits. That is very different than, the Goetia and Solomonic magic and things like this. So that there's no substitute for experience, as in everything else. There is a very good book. The only book that I'd recommend that's going to cover that aspect of hoodoo is called I think it's called Working Dem Roots, and it's by Medicine Man to Hoodoo Man. And yeah, that's, there's like a million books out there that's like, oh, this is 50 recipes for mojo hands and all this bullshit. That's nonsense. It's trivia. It's the most superficial. When you get to the essence of what a conjuration is, and how one enters into a spiritual, energetic contract with another entity, another spirit, that's you're starting to get to the essence of what the work is. That's why that's what makes you a conjure man. So got into Wicca a bit, you said, and want another perspective on animism and working with plants. Totally. And Wicca's interesting. I am not initiated in Wicca. I mean, like, I read a little bit about it, and you couldn't even call it dabbling. Something like 20, 25 years ago, when I was a kid. So I can't speak from an educated perspective on it at all. What I have seen is it borrows a lot of elements from ritual magic, in terms of it's just a little formal. You know what I mean? I talk to my roots, and I talk to my spirits the same way I talk right now. You know what I mean? When I'm praying, it's different. But when I'm just talking to them, when I'm telling the roots, like, listen here, wake up, I need you to give me a hand here. Obviously I hooked you up already. It's time to come correct. Like, I talk to my roots, the same way I talk to people. So that's a little different. It doesn't have the formality. That's one of the things I like about it. The other thing that it doesn't have, though, because hoodoo's not a religion, is it doesn't typically have an explanation for how things work. That's why I focus on that specifically in my classes, because it's all for metaphysics. What I mean is, like, why does this do this, or how does this do this? In a religion, there's a clear association. Here's an example, is like, why does a certain plant have a certain effect? Okay, if you're in a religious system, it's because that plant is associated with a certain deity or power, and that deity or power has that effect. Okay, there's a logic, at least a mnemonic there. When we're talking about in hoodoo, it's just no. Licorice has influence. It has some bearing, and as I go into my root working classes, there's certainly an aspect. If you get deep on it, and herbal medicine and aromatherapy, you're 60% of the way to knowing what all these things do. If you understand intuitively, sort of aromatherapy, plant smells, and how all those reactions happen in the body, then you're like a good 80-85% of the way there. That plus the doctrine of signatures, which is sort of like the visual reading of you call it the algorithm of plants, and then the derivation of sort of the numerology and the geometry behind that. That's 95%, 99% of it. And that's like real bush doctors. A real bush doctor. I'm not just saying a root doctor, but a bush doctor. And this is, that term's Jamaican, but they could be anywhere. Any Aboriginal people who interact directly with the flora around in their environment to provide all the solutions for their health, for example, and for really everything in life. But real bush doctor doesn't need to need to have a pre-existing knowledge of a plant. They can smell it, chew on it a little, and taste it, and they'll know exactly what it's for. Because they're reading the chemicals of it. They're reading these energetic signatures. That's what a chemical is a signature of energy. So they read these signatures of energy, and they know what they're trying to affect. They read the energy of the patient. They read the signature of energy of the plant. It's easy to fix, So this is a lot how it works for us in hoodoo. And this is a lot how, if you know what you're doing, that's what the work is. As I was saying for this working tonight to the patient who's also one of my students. So it was very cool. I explained a lot more than I normally would because it's one of my students. Like, she wanted to learn. It's when I do a working, I pretty much bring everything I could use and then I'll let spirit guide me and sense guide me as to what to use, and just that you're in tune with the moment. And you're in tune with the pressures of the moment, and you know when to throw that incense on, and you know what you're throwing on that incense, and you know when you're gonna, just when you're gonna start walking around the person saying prayers, and when you're gonna kneel in front of them saying prayers, and when you're gonna pull out the crucifix, and when you're gonna touch it to their head. Like, you just feel it, and you know it, and the key is to be prepared, to have the sensitivity to be able to feel it and know it, to have all the possible tools that you might need. I'd say I didn't use over 80% of what I brought with me. You know, like, you just use what you use, but you better have it all there. I guess an ambulance or, like a surgical room, right? They're not using all the, you got a broken leg, they're not using that brain saw thing or the skull saw. But it's in there. And they might not be using like the shocker paddles, but they're in there because if there's a complication, they're right fucking there. And there was, I had my exorcism knife with me. It was not necessary. It did not get used. But it was there because I didn't know what was coming out. So, I don't know. That's how I like to go into working, is to have, especially working on someone else. Working on myself, if it's a working for myself, I plan it out to the fucking T and I go through. Working on someone else, you just got to go in ready for whatever. You're going into a situation that you don't know, so you got to be ready for it. Many Moons Intuitive, it was a demonic entity? It was not. It was an addiction. And what I've noticed, and why I've been developing this method and practicing this method, is they work a lot like demons. They function on a lot of the same paradigms, in that they're legalistic, highly rational, deceptive, and sort of very technical and sneaky. But the way they work, the way they fool the mind, and the way they control a person is pretty much identical to demons. And so therefore, you could say addiction's a demon. You could say each individual addiction is a type of demon, or something like that. It's not that I'm not interested in it. If I'm giving my opinion, I think addiction's a demon. I don't think it's like one of, the goetic demons or anything like that. I think it's something that comes as a result of civilization, whatever. But I think that addiction is a demon. I think that different addictions are probably different demons in the same class, so to speak. But I think it doesn't matter. Whether actually the case or not, I think because they function similarly, because they work along the same sort of MO, you can deal with them in substantially the same way. So, yeah, that's the demon tie-in there. Right on. We got so there's my friends from Iowa there. Guys, I forgot how to pronounce it. Is it Kaya Apothecary? Kaya? I don't know, but everybody should go follow them, because they're in Iowa, in a town that has one traffic light. It's like that small a town, and their metaphysical, it's not just a metaphysical, it's a legit magic store, is at the intersection, at the one traffic light in this little town in Iowa. And they're awesome. I got to hang out with them last night and read charts and read their business chart, and K Apothecary it's pronounced. Oh, that makes it much easier if you spelled it that way, guys. But yes, it was very cool to just hear about, like, this is like a straight up cornfield town where these sorts of things are typically frowned upon, and yeah, it's dope to see them doing it out there. Right on. That was cool to wrap it up. Maybe on a commercial. I don't know, guys. I'm burnt out. My light is fading. Oh. As you can see, if you have any questions, again, I'm happy to answer them. Otherwise, I'm going to go eat some pancakes or something and go to sleep. Maybe French toast. I'm thinking French toast is the way to go tonight. All right, on that note, I want to wish everyone a blessed Saturday night. Again, thank you for tuning in. Thank you for your attention. And thank you for your intentions. Oh, here's a question. So this person had it cast out. Could they still partake, but without the addiction part? So, in theory, yeah, because I actually smoked a cigar for the working tonight, and I didn't smoke the whole cigar, which previously, there's no fucking way I wouldn't smoke the whole cigar. I would smoke multiple cigars into working. But yeah, I just smoked like what I needed to for it to blow into the bath, and that was it. You know, I gave the rest to the spirits. But yeah, I think they could, but they don't want to. That's part of it. They just don't want to. So we bound it up, you know. And so yeah, I think you missed the part where we were talking about the deal we made is that any alcohol that would have been allotted for her in this life is now allotted for her spirits. And so she can give it to her spirits, and anyone else can give it to her spirits instead of her. But her spirits are going to... She kind of traded, right? She traded blessings for alcohol, which we do at the altar all the time. That's the basic thing. But she kind of like assigned all of her alcohol to her spirits and kind of sacrificed it all to them for the rest of her life. So she's not going to drink again because she gave it to him already. Or promised it to him, at least. Right on, gang. Yeah, I'm tired. I think this restaurant will still be open. It's about 12:30 here. And I'm gonna crust out some French toast. Jeez, it is so. The way I sleep after doing a big working like this is it's a great sleep. I love it's. I can never get that restful of sleep or that deep of sleep. And I see so many spirits right now. That's the other thing. I see spirit so much after doing the working, and then you go back into the real world, and you're not all the way back. You know what I mean? Anyway, gang, like I said, thanks for tuning in. Thank you. Thank you all for spending some Saturday night with me. I miss doing lives more often, and perhaps I shall. If you have, or if you're watching this later, and if you tune in late, I'm gonna post it so you can go and watch it. Come DM me, ask me questions. Also check out the new policies too. I'm doing different works. I'm opening up the books again. I got room for readings. If you want to get a reading, please. Also, if you're in New York or you know people in New York, please let me know, because I'm trying to go out there in August. I'm trying to do readings. I'm trying to do workings. I'm trying to do private classes, and I might try to do an actual class at a bookstore there. But yes, please, hit me up. I'm really trying to get plugged in New York specifically, Manhattan, ideally, but like Brooklyn especially, but also New Jersey. I'll go into North Jersey. I know there's a lot of good peeps there. Please, let me know, because that will be dope. Also, if you're in Massachusetts or the greater, what do they call it? New England area, that's the term. I'm going to be out there for the Salem Symposium in August. I would love to see you there. I'm doing 2 classes. One is Jewish folk magic, and the other one is my Conjuring with Spirits class, which is my favorite class to give, and was my favorite class to write. So if you're around, I would love to see you there and love to share with you and learn from you. On that note, everyone, good night. God bless. Ashe to all you. Light and progress to your spirits. May you grow and continue upon your journey with God's light shining on you, and every door and road open to you. And I'll catch you guys soon.